think I have to get a new chair soon. Okay.
Dear Saint Nick, goodbye, I'm over this. Your promises are hard to believe. Baby, I don't need your gifts, your freaky little lips. Yeah, who the hell are you to judge me? 'Cause it's nice to be naughty. It's nice to be
Hey friends, I hope that you're off to a great start for your day and your week, and a great end to your year. As you can see, it's getting a little festive in our apartment. Not really my choice, it's actually my husband's. I am so tired from all the wedding planning that we finally got through. We finally had our wedding this year, and my husband is still amped up for Christmas. So he has Christmas decorations all over the apartment. We have our little mini tree because I didn't feel like getting an actual tree this year. Maybe next year if he's lucky. So I hear all the time people talking about low self-esteem. Usually you don't hear anyone admit that they have low self-esteem or that they're really hard on themselves, but you do hear it passed around pretty often. Hardly enough, we see a lot of times people fighting to have a healthy self-esteem, but they don't really show the tips of how do you even know if you have healthy self-esteem. Well, first let's go over how do you know if you have low self-esteem. Number one is that you compare yourself instantly. Now this could be good or bad. If you constantly look down on others, yeah, you're not hiding your insecurity well at all. Cocky does not equal confidence. If you feel the need to start tearing down someone with your words or giving them the up and down when they come into a room, it's very obvious to everyone around you that you're the one with low self-esteem. Or you could be the opposite. A lot of times if you have low self-esteem, you may want to shrink when someone you deem more attractive or talented or gifted or better at their job comes into the room. I know me, for my ex, I felt pretty confident around him until I felt like someone prettier walked in, and then all of a sudden I would have to hug around him and kiss all over him and make sure that he knows that I'm here to stay. That is not the way to grow your confidence. If you start to feel this way, whether you're tearing someone down or putting someone on a pedestal higher than yourself, remind yourself that you are blessed with talents and gifts that only you can contribute to the world. There's absolutely no reason to compare different paths. You and that other person are just on totally different wavelengths, and you need to focus on your own. Number two is that you feel worse after scrolling through social media. I know that this is definitely something that I still have to be aware of. I try to limit myself to only maybe 1 or 2 hours a week of social media. At first it was really hard, but the way that I got through it is that I changed the app that makes me feel lowly about myself to something positive. I don't know if iPhone users are able to do this, but instead of having the placement for Instagram, I switched it to Pinterest or my Bible app or Duolingo, anything that starts to encourage myself of how great of a person I actually am. This is something that I still have to be aware of. And because of this, I highly recommend the YouTube channel Inform Overload. Sometimes they go a little overboard when bringing up how often people use Photoshop, but it could be good for you as a viewer who is struggling with having high self-esteem after leaving social media to know that everybody uses Photoshop. In fact, as many photo shoots as I've done, I never realized that they use Photoshop until after one of the photographers told me. Nowadays, it's almost a necessity. It's supposed to be expected that your photographer is going to tweak your hair a little bit, make sure that your skin looks flawless on your face, or for me, on my legs. I was shocked to see how amazing my legs look after a photo shoot, only for me to realize that the reason it took so long for me to get my pictures back was because the photographer was too busy blurring out all of those wrinkles or cellulite, or what are they called? What do we call them? Tiger marks that are on my fanny, just to make sure that it looks perfect. If this habit of going on social media is detrimental to your mental health, I highly recommend switching that app out for something more positive that's going to make you feel super special and not deplete your self-esteem. And that reminds me, what do you use for a pick-me-up? I know for me, Pinterest is really good, but sometimes I start to go down the rabbit hole where I start to feel myself getting too far. If I see too many fitness videos, I've had enough of seeing skinny little girls in their booty shorts with their round hips and their six-pack abs. Enough is enough, and I know that I need to log out. It is no longer helpful for my self-esteem. So what do you use that helps you when you're really fighting to make sure that you have a healthy level of self-esteem? Number 3 is that you consider giving your toxic ex another chance. On average, it typically takes someone 7 times to leave their abusive relationship before realizing that they no longer want to go back. Now, I am not saying this statistic as someone who is referring to those people who feel like they're in a life-threatening relationship. I would understand if you feel you cannot leave that relationship. I am more so referring to the toxicity where they may feed your negative mind and you want to go back to them anyway. I talked a lot about this in my self-help book, My Boyfriend, My Bully. My ex, at the time where I met him, I thought he was a blessing. I also was struggling with very low self-esteem. I was constantly writing in my diary how much I really wanted someone to care for me and love me, even though I felt like I did not deserve it. Then along comes my boyfriend. At the time, he was very attractive and very sweet and charming, and I was swept completely off of my heels. Now, I met my boyfriend when I was 14, and then I broke up with him for good when I was finally 18. We had those awesome times, but we had a lot more of those times where he would just feed that negative self inside of me. I get a lot of compliments on how fit I am, and sometimes I start to feel myself when I'm in the mirror putting on a tight dress, but other times I start to feel really guilty and really low about myself, hence why I don't go on social media as much anymore. Well, my ex, he used to feed into that so often. Many times he would call me beautiful, but other times if we were arguing, he would smoothly mention that I might need to lose a couple pounds. My tip to you for this one is start believing that there is someone who loves you. Now that one sounds really simple, but from experience, it's very true. When I first met my husband, he looked at me and he went, "I remember you from somewhere." And for almost a year, he could not remember it. And then finally it hit him. A year before we met, he saw me in the grocery store crying my eyes out. Now he wanted to talk to me, comfort me, but it was kind of weird because we were still strangers and I was also getting into an argument with my mother at the time. Now, I say this because I was at a very low point in my life while I was in the grocery store publicly crying, trying to wipe my tears away, but my blessing was just an aisle away from me and I had no idea. Have the strength to remind yourself that there is someone who cares for you and you will find them. You do not need to go back to your toxic ex. Number 4, you are unable to post a picture or leave the house without makeup, primping, or filtering. Of course, before you leave the house, you do need to probably check in the mirror, make sure there's no gunk in your teeth. In fact, let me do that now. Yeah, make sure that there's no makeup in your teeth or anything. Make sure that your shoes are on the right feet, whatever. But I mean going above and beyond, where every time you leave the house, you need to look like you just stepped out of a model catalog. If you're gonna post on Instagram, you need to make sure that it is everything perfect. Your wings are on point, your hair is flipped, your waist is snatched, even if you have to Facetune it to get there. Some of the most beautiful Instagram feeds that I see are people in their most natural look. Okay, maybe not most natural, maybe I just don't know how to do natural makeup, but you get my point. I mean that you don't have to Photoshop every single time that you go on Instagram. A good tip for this one is to know that not everybody cares. In fact, let me repeat that. Probably no one cares. Unless you're Kim Kardashian and you get paid to look a certain way, You don't have to stress yourself out about looking so perfect because it is not obtainable. There is no way that you can look perfect. And I don't mean this to end your hopes of looking beautiful. I'm saying that to say there's no such thing as being perfect, which means that you are already beautiful. There's no goal that you need to keep striving for because you're already there. That's why you're so tired and felt like you've been chasing your tail, and you feel like you're on this roller coaster of feeling good about yourself and then not liking yourself all over again. It keeps going back and forth and it's tiring. It's because you're chasing a goal that doesn't exist. Just tell yourself, not everyone cares. Number 5, you're afraid to add your own opinion. When you get in a group setting or sitting down privately with your boss, you might start second guessing yourself, maybe stumbling over your words. Or even worse, that self-negative talk starts to come back in your mind. Maybe you start to have a good idea and then you tell yourself, maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. This is an example of low self-esteem. You gotta learn to start asking yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? If I pitch an idea, if I say a joke that's not funny, worst thing is they're not gonna laugh and I could just sip my water and then retreat quietly. Okay, maybe that's not the best thing that you should do. Maybe you should just say that joke and stick the landing, whether it lands or not. They're still gonna be your friends and they're still gonna think that you're a cool person to be around. Stop giving yourself that negative talk. In fact, start overruling it. It's not gonna happen all in one setting, but it is something that you need to start practicing if your goal is to finally have a healthy form of self-esteem. Number 6 is that you're easily offended. You know that saying, a ship can't sink unless it lets the water in? There's going to be negative comments all around you if you start looking for them. The less you pay attention to those negative comments, or even when somebody says something that may be a little off-putting, don't be so quick to get offended. Maybe that person is trying to help you. Another personal example that I share too much with you guys, I really don't like when someone points out that something is in my teeth. Now, my husband can say it, maybe my best friend can say it, but I don't like when random people start to tell me that something's in my teeth. A little bit of anger gets inside of me. It's like, how dare you point out that I'm not perfect? Don't you know how hard I worked on this look? And for you to tell me that something is smudged on my teeth is ruining my vibe. I don't know why I get so mad about that. But that is just a form of one area that I need to work on if I want to achieve healthy self-esteem. Now, it may not be something as small or related to lipstick on your teeth, but if you can't go without someone giving you constructive criticism without getting super angry, that is something that you need to work on. And a good way to work on this is learning more about your self-worth through your talents. I found that I became less offended when I started plugging myself into my gifts. This year, I started teaching more and more dance classes, something that I'm super passionate about. I know that I may not be the best dancer, but I'm definitely a great choreographer, and I love to work with kids and teenagers. The more that you plug yourself into your self-worth and dive deeper into the gifts that you have, the more that you can brush off your shoulder anytime that someone says anything remotely offensive. Or on the flip side, you can't handle compliments. I'm starting to feel like everything on this list I have battled with at some point or time, or right now, I don't know. For instance, I used to work in sales every holiday season. I would work really hard on having a cute outfit, and then sometimes when I would get to the mall to go to work, all of a sudden my coworkers would tell me, you need to put on this t-shirt. On top of my cute outfit with perfectly matched makeup, I would have to put on a white t-shirt with whatever corny saying is on. I had no idea that it was coming, so that when customers would walk by me, I would feel really lowly about myself, and I wouldn't really want to talk to them because my outfit is not on point like it needs to be, and I had no control of it. Then I came home to my husband. My husband's complimenting me and calling me cute. Why though? And when he said that, I didn't accept the compliment. Now, I know that that was like a really petty story and not applicable to everyone, but I am saying that you need to learn to accept the compliments anyway. When you start to reject the compliments, that means that you're not really taking them in, obviously. But I also started to realize that I felt like my husband was hardly ever giving me compliments. And when I talked to him about this and shared my feelings of, sometimes I wish you would call me pretty, he looked at me like I was dumb and was like, I call you pretty every time you come home. But because I wasn't accepting it, it just went through one ear and straight out of the other. Whatever combats your negative self-talk is good for the soul. Whatever combats your negative self-talk is good for the soul. If someone calls you beautiful, accept it. Either they are lying, crazy, or telling the truth. If they're your friend, they wouldn't lie. And if you've known them for a while, they may not be crazy. So what if they're just telling the truth? Accept it. Number 8, you keep to yourself. Maybe when you go into parties, you're pretty much known to just stand in the corner. Even though I don't really relate to this one, I did have a best friend that I would tag along for my parties or to other people's parties. And even though there was a huge table of food, she would pull out her own fruit out of her purse, even though she wanted to eat all the other fruit that was there. And she would sit down in the corner and start eating out of the bowl. When people would come up and talk to her, she wouldn't really speak to anyone and she would hardly look up, but she would be so much fun when it was just me and her. Now, if you're an introvert and you've accepted that, that's totally fine, but you don't have to pull yourself away all the time because you're missing an opportunity to make friends with people who would potentially really care about you and help raise your self-esteem. Self-esteem isn't always about looks. Sometimes, like I said, it's about your talent or your gift. How do you view that? Do you believe that you have any gifts? Sometimes it's second-guessing yourself around crowds like we talked about before. Do you feel like you're worthy of having good friends that are cool and that accept you? For this one, I challenge you to get more out there. Challenge yourself every now and then to make a new connection. Now, this one, again, it's on the flip side and it's kind of like me. You're over the top. I'm the type of person that when I walk into the party, I am the party, which can be a good thing. Sometimes people are genuinely extroverts and we feed off of the energy of other people. We like to get to know new people. But then you know how you have that one girl, not me, but that one girl that comes in the parties and she's just a little too much. That's not me now, but I think that could have been me in 9th grade. Yeah, that was probably me. What I learned is that you should not put your worth in how other people validate you. If they like the fake you, the one where you're on 10 all the time and you have to keep the party alive, they're not really liking the real you. And because they're not liking the real you, you're gonna feel just as lonely as before. I'm still a happy party goer. I'm still a happy party goer, but when I go and when I'm ready to dance and meet new people, I make sure I'm doing it because I want to, not because I feel like they expect me to. And number 10 is that you give up easily. Procrastination, that's definitely one. If you're pushing off your goals, setting aside the time that you sit down and talk to your boss about a raise, telling yourself that next season is when you'll go for that next shot for your career. If you're a procrastinator, that could be a sign of low self-esteem. If you have healthy self-esteem, you would know that you are ready and that you have all the gifts and strength and talent to go for what you want. I'm not sure exactly who said this quote. If I find out, you will definitely know because it's going to be in the description. It says, tell yourself that I am a success seeker and not a failure avoider. Try to say that 3 times fast. But it's true. There's a huge difference in going for your goals instead of being afraid to fail and then not doing anything. Only one gets you where you need to be. Alright, those are my 10 things. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I hope that you not only enjoyed it, but you're able to apply this to your life, and we're going on this journey together. I do feel like I've grown so much from studying this and applying it to my life. It definitely has made a noticeable change, and I can't wait to hear how it has helped you. So make sure you like it, but also I want to hear from you, get closer to people watching, put in your comments below how this is helping you or how it could help a friend. Definitely share with other people. It sounds better when it's coming from me, someone they don't know, than from you and you have to tell them, I think you need to raise your self-esteem, right? Right. Until next time, bye.